matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Give it a try. Hinei matov. Hinei matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
Try it again. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Hinei matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
Let's hear you. How good it is.
How
sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Welcome everyone and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I think we need to try that again. So Shabbat Shalom is the way we greet each other on the Jewish Sabbath. Shabbat is Sabbath, Shalom is hello, goodbye, and peace. And when someone stands on the bima, this raised platform, and shouts out Shabbat Shalom, your job is to shout it back twice as loud. Let's give it a try. Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, thank God. Thank you. It's so wonderful to hear the volume and to see your smiling faces and to feel your spirit. And we welcome you to this wonderful occasion in the life of the Schcolnik family. This is a very significant moment as Hannah takes on a new status in Jewish life as a bat mitzvah, as a daughter of the commandments. It means she is entering young adulthood, and we look at her differently. And she's ready to take on new responsibilities for her religious life and the rest of it too. And we celebrate with her. Now, I know that we have a lot of guests today for whom I think this might be the first time in a synagogue and the first experience with a Jewish service. Nothing to be worried about. And I think you're going to really enjoy the experience and find it beautiful and meaningful. And I hope that you won't be a passive observer. I hope that to the best of your ability that you will be an active participant, meaning do your best to read the readings, to sing along, even if you don't know the songs. Learn them as we sing. And if the Hebrew gets in the way, I always like to say, lie works just fine. But it really, I promise you, will be so much more joyful if you get involved in the service, and it will add to the spirit for all of us here, so try your best. And, you know, every time we come into the sanctuary, we create what we call a kehila kedoshah, a holy community. We transition into holy time and holy space by raising our voices together in song and prayer, and by connecting and showing love and care for one another. So take a moment to make some noise and say Shabbat Shalom and quickly introduce yourself to everyone sitting around you. Go ahead, make some noise. So I'm Rabbi Jason Gwozdov, the rabbi here at Temple Israel. This is Lindy Passer, who happens to be my wife, our temple soloist and music director, and will be leading you through the service, along with Hannah, who will be doing much of our service today. And we're going to just be bursting with pride at all that she's going to do with us and for us today. We're going to be so inspired. We're on page 1 of our service, and we have a special family blessing. And I'd like to invite up onto the bima Grandma Susan Rogers and great Aunt Carlotta Oberzet, here in honor of Grandma Marcia Fernandez and great Aunt Marianne Jurgis for the family blessing.
Well, this is
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. And may you trust in generations past and yet to be.
May your heart be filled with intuition and your words be rich in understanding. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue and your vision clarify a straight path before you.
May your eyes shine with the light of holy words and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips speak wisdom and your fulfillment be in righteousness as you yearn to hear the words of the holy ancient one of old.
When you enter a synagogue, you see many ritual symbols and important ritual objects like the ark with the holy eternal light on top of it, the Torah is in the ark. And as you look around the room, you see many of us have our head covered with a kippah or a yarmulke, a symbol that we're not the center of the universe. There's something greater above us, and with humility we remind ourselves of that. And many of us are wearing talitot. Talit is a prayer shawl, and many of them have beautiful colors and beautiful material, but the significance of a talit is not in the color or the material, but in the simple fringes, tzitzit in Hebrew, that are affixed to the 4 corners. And it's kind of like tying a string on your finger as a reminder of something, because the tzitzit are tied in a very particular, special way. Every Hebrew letter of the alphabet assigned a number. And so it's a kind of code, and if you know the code, it says Adonai Echad, that God is one. And another way of looking at it is a reminder of the mitzvot, the commandments in Jewish life. And they're not just the Big 10, but 613 commandments that are in the Torah. When we wear the talit and we see the tzitzit, we're reminded of that. We're reminded of the values of our people, going all the way to the beginning of the Torah, this important teaching that we are all created in the image of God. All of us have within a spark of the divine. And our job is to find that spark in everyone we encounter. Not just fellow Jews, but people of all faiths, all ethnicities, all religions. We're all created by one God. So that's one of our central teachings. Today, Hannah is going to be presented actually with 2 talitot. You'll get a further explanation there. The first one looks like it came from Moses on Mount Sinai. As you can tell, it's very old. Not quite that old, but I think I heard 130 years. This talit belonged to Hannah's great-great-grandfather, who came from Odessa. And she's only the second person to wear this talit. But it's been preserved and handed down through the generations of her family. And I invite Mom and Dad, Enrique and Jane, to come onto the bima and present it to her and to share with Hannah words of blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef bat tzitzit.
So this is where I go. Baruch hu et Adonai kamevorach. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're all a little nervous today.
Do you want to do this?
It's not the Aliyah. Okay, I'll go first. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Peachy. That's my nickname for Hannah, Peachy. Here we are. 14 years after I first met you. I remember as a baby, you were always confident and content in different surroundings. I remember leaving you at daycare a long time ago and putting you on the swing. And while most other babies would cry, you were always cool and composed. You also always liked interacting with other people, always showing interest in hearing from them first. And you have an uncanny ability to know what's important for others. I think that is why people are drawn to you. You are generous and you show empathy to others. I also remember thinking that because you were always fine in different situations, that later in life it would be challenging for you to be firm, and if there was something that you didn't like or that you thought wasn't fair, it would be hard for you to express that. But as I watched you grow up, I see that you have a very clear understanding of what is right and wrong, and you show no hesitation drawing the line for yourself and for other people. I love you, and I respect you for that. I know that Wolf and Papi are also looking down on you, and they would be so proud. As a teenager, you're becoming independent, and even though it is difficult and challenging at times, you put so much effort staying connected with me. You share your thoughts and your experiences with me. I'm sorry. And we continue to develop mutual trust. Peachy, I'm so proud of the person that you have become, and my love for you grows more and more every day. This talit that you're wearing belonged to your great-great-grandfather, Wolf Schcolnik. This talit is 135 years old and has survived very tumultuous times in Russia, Argentina, and also in our family. It is truly a miracle that is still with us, and I think it represents the miracle of you being part of our lives and the miracle of you growing up within this community at Temple Israel with some of the challenges our families faced in Russia and Argentina.
There's tissue strategically placed. That's right. Okay. So, when Rabbi explained this part of the ceremony to me, this parent's blessing, he reminded me that even though I have a big audience, I'm really speaking directly to Hannah. In my mind, that roughly translated into a love letter. So that's what I decided to write for Hannah, and to share it with everyone today, but most of all, to share it with you, Hannah. So, this is my letter, my love letter. To my beloved daughter, Hannah. I'm happy to have this opportunity to reflect upon your life over the past 14 years and the wonderful person that you have become. When I think of you and who you are, what stands out to me most is your sweetness. You are a joy to be around. Even from a young age, you were delightful to others. You were very precocious and spoke in very clear, complete sentences, even around age 2. When we go out to eat, you would toddle over to others' tables to join them with dinner and delight them with your cuteness and your conversation. Even though you're a bit tougher now than you were at age 2, which I think is appropriate, it's still a delight to hang out with you. It's a comfort to me to know that wherever you go, you will find people who love you. For myself, I'm hoping for many more opportunities to share a plate of oysters and a nice conversation with you. Another trait that stands out to me when I think of you is that you are a caregiver. In this respect, you remind me of your grandmother, Grandma Marcia, my mother, who is the most thoughtful, giving person I know. Due to illness, my mother couldn't make it in person, but is enjoying the service on YouTube. Hi, Mom. To those who know my mother, you know that being compared to her is a tremendous compliment, and I'm so proud of that aspect of you. I just wanted to mention, too, that my Aunt Carlotta is here representing my mother, and my Aunt Marianne is representing my dad, and neither one of them are here today, and we miss them. We're really happy that you guys are with us. At the reception, there'll be a slideshow. There's a few pictures in which we managed to capture her playing caregiver, so we'll show you that in a little bit. But there's a sequence of pictures showing Hannah playing mother to Ezra and doing a bedtime routine that is so sweet and tender that it brings me to tears. I recall a similar scenario that occurred at my gym when Hannah was preschool aged. She was playing that she was the mother of a similarly aged little boy whose mother was also at our gym. And I'll never forget the look of pure joy and the look of love on that little boy's face as Hannah took care of him. In more recent years, in her friend group, I can see that she's the mother hen, taking care of the emotional needs of the group. To her brother Ezra, she is his trusted confidant. He trusts her with secrets that he won't share with anyone else. I'm also proud of her work ethic when it comes to her academics. Hannah's not naturally someone who wants to be studying. She'd rather be hanging out with friends. Luckily, she's motivated to earn good grades. It was a rough transition from, remote learning to a new school, but through trial and error and some hard lessons, she figured out how to be academically successful. And I'm proud of your perseverance and your progress. I added this morning that after watching her rehearse yesterday, I have to mention your poise and your beautiful voice is just breathtaking. And if anybody if you can look at the scrolls, it's amazing. There's these squiggly lines, and it makes her sing, and she can interpret it. I'm amazed. I have a deep admiration for you. The best part is your growth and development continues. With love and anticipation, I look forward to seeing you develop into the delightful woman that I know you will become. I'm thankful every day that I get to be your mom. I love you so much.
At important moments in our lives, like this, we say a special blessing, and we're going to sing it together today. It's a blessing that thanks God for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for allowing us to reach this special time. It's the Shehechianu on the bottom of page 1, and we invite you to sing with us. And we say the first of many mazel tovs today. And our service continues now on page 2. And when you're in synagogue, you are allowed to clap your hands when you're singing.
We encourage it,
And we encourage you to clap your hands, because I'd like you to do that as we sing together this next joyous song. Hallelujah, 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 Shama. Shama, hallelujah, 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 Kol Hanshama, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And now Hannah takes over the leading of our service on the middle of page 2.
Elu divarim she'ein lahem shi'ur. These are the duties whose worth cannot be measured.
Together,
Honoring one's father and mother, acts of love and kindness, diligent pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, hospitality to strangers, visiting the sick, celebrating with bride and groom, consoling the bereaved, praying with sincerity, and making peace where there is strife, and the study of Torah leads to them all. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesek vivina lehavhin ben yom uvein laila.
Praise be the eternal God, who has implanted mind and instinct within every living being.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Praise be the eternal God, who has made me a Jew.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben horim.
Praise be the eternal God who has made me to be free.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokei achirim.
Praise be the eternal God who helps the blind to see.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Praise be the eternal God who helps the naked.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Praise be the eternal God who frees the captive.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzokef kefufim.
Praise be the eternal God who lifts up the fallen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamahin mitzadei gaver.
Praise be the eternal God who makes firm our steps.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Praise be the eternal God who girds our people Israel with strength.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Praise be the eternal God who crowns Israel with glory.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten la ya'ev koach.
Praise be the eternal God who gives strength to the weary.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir she'ena me'enai utnuma me'afapai.
Praise be the eternal God who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. We continue on the top of page 5 with the call to worship the Baruch Hu, and I invite those who are able to please stand. Please be seated. And we read together on the top of page 6. Love Adonai, your God, with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at home and at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God.
Standing at the water's edge, the sea spray on your cheek, close your eyes and feel within the beating of freedom's drum. Listen closely on the breeze. Do you hear the music of the ages? O God, you beat the drum. You are the song. You are the wonder in each of us. With joy and awe, we sing to you this song of freedom.
For the chanting of the Amidah. Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu
ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Mehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Lekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chayei HaKol, Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somen Noflim B'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Me'id, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Nata Lehachayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, V'chayei HaKol. Nikadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Hashem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatuv ayad neviyecha, v'kara zer ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzilaot, Melot kol haaretz kevodo. Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu hu Malkeinu, hu Moshiachenu lehu yashmi'enu, berachamav lehenei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yichzion, Ledor vador. Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, ulenetach netzachim kedushatcha nagish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, le'olam aved. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. You know, every Jewish service that we pray is like a mini Jewish history lesson, at least the ancient history. And it takes us through important moments, and it reminds us of so many of the important teachings and values of our people. But in each of our services, we like to take a few quiet moments to invite everyone to pray in their own way, or to look inside
and to think about the prayers, think about the blessings in your lives that are not written in the page of a prayer book, but the prayers that are written in our hearts and in our minds. Tfilat Halev, the prayer of the heart. So let us take a few quiet moments for our own individual prayer and meditation.
Shalom, Tova Uvracha.
We thank Lindy for her beautiful gift of song that takes us and lifts us to a very special place. Well, in a moment, you're going to feel the energy of our service pick up once again as we transition into a new and separate portion of our service called Seder Kriyat Torah, the special service for the reading of the Torah. And with special liturgy and some choreography, we're going to turn around and open the doors of the ark and bring one of the Sefer Torahs, one of the scrolls, out into the congregation and pass it down through the generation of Hannah's family and place it lovingly in her arms. And then she's going to come down off this raised platform, the bima, and march up and down the aisles carrying the Torah lovingly on her shoulder and bringing it literally out into the congregation. And there's a tradition, it's not required, but I just want you to know what's happening, of giving the Torah a kiss, literally as a sign of our reverence for the tradition. People will take their prayer book or their talit and give the Torah a kiss. So that's what's going to happen as Hannah marches up and down. If you're standing next to someone who wants to reach out to the Torah, get out of the way. You don't want to be knocked over. And then we're going to bring the Torah back up on the bima and undress it. And Hannah's going to chant from the Torah portion for the week. But one other service note. While Hannah and her parents and grandparents are marching around the sanctuary, Ezra, Hannah's brother, and Oliver, cousin, are going to be walking around distributing individually wrapped pieces of candy, lifesavers, to be exact. We are not distributing a mid-service snack. But we're giving you this piece of candy for an important reason, and we want you to hang on to it quietly, please. Those wrappers are, they make a lot of noise with the cellophane. So maybe put it in your pocket or on your lap or on the seat next to you. Hold it quietly and wait for the big moment. The last of the three aliyot, the three sections of the Torah that Hannah is going to chant, is her special aliyah, and that is an important moment. And when she finishes, we're just going to burst with joy, and on my subtle signal, something like this, no! We're going to toss the candy up here on the bima, oh so gently. Kind of an upward trajectory so it lands gently upon us, sort of. And why are we doing this? It's an expression of the joy of that moment. So now you know why we're doing this and what's about to happen. And there's so much for me to remember, I forgot 2 service notes. First of all, hello and welcome to everyone who's joining us on the live stream, especially Grandma Marcia. We're so glad that you're with us today, even if it has to be virtual. And number 2, let's make sure our cell phones are turned off or in silent mode, okay? So that it doesn't disturb. We've been great so far, not one ring yet. But if you have your cell phone, give it a double check, please, as we're going around with the Torahs. So I invite up onto the Torah for the honor, up onto the bima, for the honor of opening the ark this first time, Grandma Susan Rogers and Grandpa Victor Sirota. And I ask you all to please rise.
Ki mitzion
Tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion Tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah. Torah, Israel's Morashah, the eternal inheritance of our people. In it is written the history of our people, our traditions, our commandments, and it has sustained us quite literally as a people in all our wanderings around the globe. We call it our tree of life, because just as a real tree sustains and nourishes real life, giving us fruits and wood and paper and shade and oxygen, and the list goes on and on. So the Torah is that source of sustenance for our people. Hannah, we're going to place this Torah literally and figuratively in your arms today, with the hope and the prayer that you will receive it with love and take its teachings to heart, and God willing that you will pass it down to your children and to your grandchildren, the next generations of our people. It is with great pleasure that I invite your mom and dad to join us on the bima once again as we pass the Torah down through the hands of your grandparents and your parents, and then to you. The Lord fulfill from generation to generation.
L'dor vador, nagid godlecha, u'lanetzach netzachim kedushatcha nagdish b'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam vahed, leolam vahed.
At the end of his life, Moses spoke to the children of Israel and said, "It is not enough that you have received the Torah from me. You must make it anew again in every generation."
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Now we're going to march around the sanctuary in what we call the Hakafah. Sweet and to come and help us undress the Torah. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Ezra, we're looking for you to help us undress the Torah. Come on up. Asher Kiddishanu V'mitzvotav v'tzivanu L'asok v'divrei Torah L'asok v'divrei Torah. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Please be seated. It's all right. Ezra was being very conscientious to make sure everybody got the candy.
Very talented.
Right? Good job. So each week the Torah comes out of the ark and out into the congregation, and we read the Torah portion of the week. Notice it's a scroll. It's the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. And it was written so long ago, there are no page numbers, and there's no periods. There's no punctuation. This is almost impossible to read.
No vowels,
No vowels.
no musical notation.
No musical notation. So what she's about to do is a wonderful accomplishment. And long ago, in order to establish an annual cycle of reading the Torah, the rabbis divided it into weekly readings. So our portion this week is called Acharei Mot. And I could probably give 3 sermons on what's written there, but I'm not going to. You're lucky. But Hannah, when she's finished chanting from the portion, is going to share with us a beautiful Devar Torah, or a lesson, words of Torah based on what's written there. So we have something wonderful to look forward to. We call up family members for the honor of what we call an aliyah, literally going up, coming up onto the bima to recite the blessing for the reading of each section. Yamod Rishon, Shmuel ben Hirsch, Yochanan Shmuel, Sarah Me'ira bat Shmuel Hirsch. We call for the first aliyah, Grandfather Victor Sarota, Grandmother Susan Rogers, Aunts Maria Eugenia Schcolnik, Laura Sarota, and Anna Sarota.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן תורה.
Amen. Vehikriv Aharon et par hatat asher lo vehiper ba'ado uvad beito velakach et shnei hasirim vehe'emid otam Lifnei Adonai Pe'etach Ohel Moed.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayer olam natan betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen.
Yabad Sheni Yochanan Shmuel Ben Shmuel Hirsch. We call for our second Aliyah, parents Enrique Schcolnik and Jane Fernandez Schcolnik. Mom and Dad.
Barahu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim Venatan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Venatan Aharon al Snei Hasirim Goralot Goral Ehad Ladonai Vegoral Ehad La'azazel Vehikriv Aharon et Hasair Asher alav Hagorav Ladonai Ve'asahu Hatat.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'cheyai Olam Natab Betoheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yashakoa. Actually, I have to make a comment. When Enrique grew up in Argentina in the 1970s, it was a very tumultuous time in the history of the country. And because of all the craziness, he didn't have the opportunity to have a bar mitzvah. And so he's never been called by his Hebrew name. In fact, he didn't have a Hebrew name. We had to choose, he got to choose a Hebrew name for himself. So this was the first time that he has been called up onto the bima to recite this blessing. You know what that means? You are sharing your bar mitzvah with Hannah. This is your bar mitzvah too. Simon Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simon Tov, Simon Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simon Tov. Surprise, surprise. He didn't know that was coming. There's a lot of joy in this day. So, whenever the Torah is out into the congregation, we like to recite special blessings for all kinds of things, but especially blessings for health and for healing, for our good friends and our family that need whatever help and whatever strength that we can bring to them with our phone calls, with our visits, with meals, and with our prayers, our sincere prayers for a refuah shlema, for a full and speedy healing. And today we're thinking especially about your grandmother, Marcia. And I'm sure there were many people who we are worrying about and praying for. So as my hand passes across the room, I invite you to call out loud the names of family and friends whom you would like to add to this blessing. And it works for Jew and Gentile alike, so don't be shy. The words for the Misha Barak prayer are printed in our service. What page are they on, Carmen? Page 15. Let us sing together this beautiful prayer for healing. Add to those names mentioned aloud those of us here and those of you who are joining us on the live stream who are in need of these same blessings for refuat hanefesh and refuat haguf, for healing of mind and body and spirit. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, who heals the sick.
Amen.
Amen. I need that. Thanks. Last night, many of us were gathered here for a Shabbat evening service, but it was a service that was also dedicated to something very powerful, which is Yom HaShoah. Shoah is the Hebrew word for Holocaust. It was our community's annual commemoration of the Holocaust. And I mentioned last night how challenging it can be mixing together a Shabbat that has both happiness and joy, what we're experiencing today, and also such sad and difficult memories that we take very personally, that are so much a part of our history and even our personal lives, because many of us have family members who perished in the Holocaust, or were the children of survivors, and so that's a narrative that we grew up with and has come to shape who we are as people. But we Jews aren't afraid. When we don't sweep under the carpet things that are difficult, because it's important to remember, and because that is a part of real life, and we need to embrace both the happy and the difficult. And I'm saying all this because we have a tradition here in our community, as many do around the country, of twinning each of our bar and bat mitzvah students with a young child who did not have the opportunity to have a bar or a bat mitzvah because they died, because they were murdered. They perished in the Holocaust. And we do this so that they will be remembered. And we do this so that we remember the lesson of the Holocaust, which is never forget, and work to remind the world what can happen when hatred takes over the hearts and souls. And it has extra poignancy this year with what we see going on in the world. I don't have to remind you. So Hannah has agreed to twin with a young girl. Interestingly enough, they share a name. And I invite you now to share this dedication.
As I become a bat mitzvah, I pledge to remember Hannah Steinerova. Hannah was born in 1929 in Czechoslovakia. Her name appears on a transport manifest leaving Czechoslovakia on February 8, 1942, and bound for the Theresienstadt ghetto. She is listed as prisoner number 60. 1 month later, on March 17, 1942, her name appears on another transport manifest, Transport AB, bound for Poland. 1,080 prisoners were on Transport AB. Many died of starvation and disease. Those who survived the trip were sent to Belzec extermination camp, where they were immediately gassed. Hannah was 13 years old when she was murdered by the Nazis. Today I remember her and read Torah in her honor. On Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, I will remember her. When I say Mourner's Kaddish, I will remember her. Hannah could not become a bat mitzvah. I am doing this for her, for me, and for the Jewish people. I make this pledge in honor of all those who perished in the Holocaust.
Thank you, Hannah. And thank you for being you. Because the very best response for us in the face of the Holocaust is to live full, meaningful, joyful Jewish lives. And that's what you're demonstrating today. So I thank you for doing this. And now, back to the joy. This is an important moment, as I said before. Oh, yes. Thank you, Karma, for the reminder. It was so meaningful for you to wear your great-grandfather's talit today, and we're going to continue to pass it down through the generations of your family for as long as we can. But everybody needs their own talit, and you chose an absolutely beautiful talit in our shop here at Temple, and it's time to put on your talit. So Mom and Dad, come and take this and present Hannah with her own talit. Now, I always like to say anybody can read the Torah, right? with about 4 years of preparation. But only someone who reaches this age and this moment can be called to the Torah for this honor of the Aliyah. And today, it is your honor as you celebrate your bat mitzvah to be called. Tambod habat mitzvah, Hana bat Yochanan Shmuel. We call our bat mitzvah Hana Schcolnik.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. V'hasair asher Allah Av Hagoral La'azazel V'goral Yom Adhai Lifnei Adonai Lechaper Alav Leshalach oto la'azazel hamidbara vehikriv aharon epar ahadat asher lo vehiper ba'ado uvad beito veshachat Epar hahatai asher lo. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata betochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Stimmen haben Mazel Taten, Mazel Taten, Stimmen haben, Stimmen haben Mazel Taten, Mazel Taten, Stimmen haben, Stimmen haben Mazel Taten, Mazel Taten, Stimmen haben. Well, that was the first. There's a green lightsaber that came up here. I threw it, she caught it, threw it back. I threw it. 4 times it came back up here. Good job. So in a moment, we're going to do another important Jewish ritual. Before we put the Torah away, I'm going to lift it up and turn around and hold it aloft in the air. And the significance of this ritual is to say, here, this is not some private teaching locked in a cabinet somewhere or held by some priest only dispensing the wisdom at his will. This is a democratic document, if you will, a gift from God given to our people to pass on to the rest of the world with all its teachings and with all its values, a blueprint, if we would only follow it, for building a perfected world, for doing acts of tikkun olam, world repair. So that's the significance of that moment. Then we're going to dress the Torah once again with Ezra's help. And we need to open the ark, so we're going to invite great aunts Carlotta Oberzit and Mary Ann Jurgis up to open the ark doors, and I ask you all to please rise. Asher Sam Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai V'yad Moshe.
Everybody who's young, you define young, come and pick up candy as we turn off the Torah back to the heart.
Thank you, Karma. I forgot that part.
Shalom, 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 shalom. It is tree of life. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom.
I see two pieces though.
And you may be seated.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a really famous children's song I know that goes like this. Late last night, when we were all in bed, Mrs. O'Leary left her lantern in her shed. Her cow kicked it over, then winked her eye and said, "There'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. Fire, fire, fire." That song, as cute and as fun as it is about a real-life event where an innocent cow and her owner were blamed for almost burning down the entire city of Chicago. According to legend, Mrs. O'Leary was late milking the cows that day, so one of the cows responded by kicking over a lantern, starting the fire that quickly spread from building to building. The tragic fire, which happened in 1871, killed 120 people and totally destroyed 3.5 square miles of the city. The thing is, that business about the cow and the lantern, that's not actually how it happened. Most likely, they were just easy scapegoats for irresponsible city officials, bad city planning, and a string of unfortunate circumstances. Let me give you just a few details to set the record straight. Chicago was unusually dry that summer, and there was a strong wind on the night of the fire. At the time, 90% of the buildings were constructed of wood, connected by 56 miles of wooden streets and sidewalks. In a city of 300,000 people, there were only 200 firemen who had fought a huge fire the night before, which resulted in damaged equipment and exhausted men. To make matters even worse, the fire destroyed the building that stored the city's water pumps, so attempts to draw water from Lake Michigan failed. The fire raged through Chicago until burning out the following evening, aided by the first significant rainfall in months. So if all these issues together were the real reason of the devastating Chicago fire, why did people point a finger of blame at poor Catherine O'Leary and her cow? And why did this become such a big story that it was covered by newspapers all around the country, inspiring the children's song, which is still sung today?
Well, several historians have suggested Mrs. O'Leary was most likely singled out for blame because she was an Irish immigrant, she was Catholic, and she was a woman, all things that made her an easy target. It was a part of the anti-immigrant, anti-Catholic bias that was so strong at the time, when people were blaming immigrants and ethnic or religious minorities for every problem under the sun. Of course, this is not a new story, nor is it one that is behind us. Blaming others, or what we call scapegoating, is as old as time itself, and still goes on today. It happens in sports teams. Let's blame the coach for losing 3 games in a row. It happens in families. I didn't break it, it was Catherine, she's always breaking everything. It happens in the business world. We're not doing as well as we could because of the weak marketing team. The Jewish people have been scapegoated for centuries for everything under the sun. We've been blamed for troubled economies, for the Black Plague, for political problems, and the list goes on and on. The most horrendous example, of course, is the Holocaust, which we just talked about in my Holocaust twinning ceremony, when the Jews were blamed by Hitler for all of Germany's problems. Whether it's aimed at individuals or whole groups, it's not unusual for people to scapegoat others, to avoid taking responsibility for their own problems or actions. No one likes to get caught doing something they know they're not supposed to be doing, and no one likes to be confronted by their faults and mistakes. If you are wondering why I'm talking about all this, it's because my Torah portion, Aharemot, or at least the part that I chanted today, is all about the scapegoat ceremony that took place in ancient Israel on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. Let me explain how it worked. In order to repent for the sins of the Jewish community, the high priest of the temple would bring 2 male goats before the people and hold a lottery to decide which one would be sacrificed as a gift to God. Then the priest would place his hands on the head of the other goat, placing upon it the sins of the people, and he would send it out into the wilderness. The terrified goat would run away or escape for his life, which is how this term scapegoating became to be. Now, I imagine some of you are thinking that this is pretty weird, that the whole thing is silly, because how could the sins of an entire nation be transferred on the back of a 4-legged, sweet and innocent creature? Well, it was a long time ago when lots of people were superstitious and believed in magical powers, so in their minds, just maybe, the power of the ritual was very real. They believed that that poor goat took away their sins. But there is another, more interesting way to look at it, one that I think it has a much deeper meaning, and an important lesson to teach us today. Maimonides, one of the most influential Torah scholars of the Middle Ages, wrote, "These ceremonies are of a symbolic character and serve to impress people with a certain idea and to induce them to repent." In other words, Maimonides was saying that the scapegoating ceremony was just a symbolic exercise, a ritual to inspire people to repent, to think about their deeds, and to ask for forgiveness. The success of the ritual actually depended on the people's willingness to take responsibility for their actions. I agree with Maimonides. There's no way a poor goat could take away the people's sins or fix their problems and failures. And there's no way today blaming others when we mess up will actually get rid of the problem. We need to take responsibility for our mistakes. We need to work together with teammates, coworkers, classmates, friends, and family when things go wrong, and not just point a meaningless finger of blame, because that solves nothing. It just might make the problem worse and potentially ruin someone's reputation or even threaten someone's life. Mrs. O'Leary, the Holocaust, the awful violence we see in Ukraine today are all clear examples of where scapegoating can lead. So I challenge you to think about what I have said today and take the lesson to heart. Even though it's a human tendency to blame others, do your best to avoid the blame game. We need to look into our hearts and minds and think about how our actions can either hurt or heal. We need to think about the kind of world we want to live in, a world that is shaped by our actions. Let's work together to build a world worthy of God's blessings. All of the students at our temple are asked to make a tzedakah contribution in honor of their bar or bat mitzvah. Tzedakah is an important mitzvah in Judaism. It means righteous giving. In honor of my bat mitzvah, I will be donating 10% of the cash gifts that I receive to Sharsheret. Sharsheret, which is Hebrew for chain, is an important organization that brings together women, families, and communities facing breast and ovarian cancer. I am making this donation in honor of my grandmother, Marcia, who is watching today on the live stream from home because she is facing her own challenge with cancer. I love you, Grandma. And now for some thank yous. First, I would like to thank Rabbi Gwozdov for helping me to write my Devar Torah and for teaching me so much throughout my life. Karma, where's Karma? Oh, hi. Karma, thank you for all you have taught me and for teaching me the prayers of the service and how to chant my Torah portion. Thank you for all your patience and encouragement. Lindy, thank you so much for singing so beautifully today and for bringing so much joy to our service. I've loved all the music you always bring to temple and the spirit it brings to our community. Thank you, Abu Susan and Abu Kike, my grandparents in Argentina, for always showing so much love and support to me, whether you are here on visit or by reaching out to me from far away. You have always been such a big and important part of my life. Grandma, even though you couldn't be here today with us in person, I'm glad that you are joining us online today. In spite of the health challenges you will face, you are always so joyful and kind to everyone around you. You are such an amazing role model for all of us. Ezra, thank you for being such a great brother and for always forgiving me when I bug you. I really appreciate how loyal you are and how willing you are to share. Mom and Dad, thank you for always loving me, even when I'm a challenge, and for guiding me down the right path with so much patience and affection. You have taught me so much, and I know I wouldn't be the person I am today without you. I'm so lucky to have parents who I can tell everything to and know I can always trust. I love you both so much. Last but not least, I'd like to thank everyone who is joining us today, both online and here in person, and for showing me so much love and support. Your presence helps to make this a real celebration. Shabbat Shalom.
Hannah. You know, we don't applaud in sanctuary. We clap our hands in joy with the songs, but we don't applaud because it's not a show. It's something very different, something very holy, and something very special. But sometimes we just want to show our appreciation for a job well done. So we do two things. One is kind of silly. This is a silent applause. And two is to say these Hebrew words after me. Yasher, Koach. Yasher Koach. Which sort of means all the power to you. Great job. So let's try it. Chad, shtayim, shalosh. Yasher Koach. I'm speechless. That doesn't happen with a rabbi very often. Only because, number one, I'm just in awe of you right now and what you just did and the depth and the poignancy of what you just shared with us in your Devar Torah. Such a very important lesson, a relevant lesson for today because we see it, sadly, all the time. People being scapegoated because they're different or because we want to just blame somebody for all the problems that have nothing to do with them, from immigrants to people who look different. And you told us in no uncertain terms how the Torah instructs us not to do that. We send away that scapegoat out into the wilderness, but it doesn't take away our sins. We are responsible for our own actions. So thank you for that message. And I'm speechless because your parents stole every idea I had for what I wanted to say. They were so right on and perfect. Of course, they know you a little better than I do, only because they've known you longer. And you live in their house, not mine. You are something special. And I've had the opportunity to watch you grow up here at Temple. How many years has it been? I don't know. You were a little kid when you came, and your dad keeps reminding us of those Sunday mornings when we would have a tefillah, a children's service together with songs and stories, and we'd sit on the floor, and I would roll around and be really crazy. But there's lessons in all those stories. But I always saw you, and I always knew that there was something very special about you. I could see it in your tenderness. I could see it in the way you were with your parents and with your brothers and with your friends. As they said, you're someone who's very conscientious. You're always concerned about how other people are feeling and about what's going on in their lives. And when we had lunch yesterday, that's what you talked about a lot. I'm always looking for, what are the sports, what are the goals, what are the this that are unique to this bar bat mitzvah student. And we spent half the time talking about friends and people that you're worried about. And that's a very special and unique trait, especially for someone your age, especially this age. And so we celebrate that, and we applaud that. And I hope that you take these comments from me and from your parents and from everyone who's here today, because we love you and we're proud of you. I hope you take this warm feeling and this moment of accomplishment in your life and let that just encourage you to keep being who you already are. A wonderful mensch, which means a wonderful human being, a proud Jew, and a person who is truly beautiful inside and out. And I know when I say that everyone is saying, yep, that's true about you. Continue to be a blessing to your family and to our congregation and our people and to the world. Mazel tov. And won't you please join me in front of the ark for a quiet blessing?
Trust in those who are yet to come. Shemi b'ti, Shemi shall fly on wings of eagles, and you will grow to be straight and tall. This is our promise, this is our blessing. You are the promise, you are the blessing. Shemi B'ti. Shemi B'ti. Shemi B'ti. Shemi B'ti.
I have the best job in the world. There were lots of special presentations that are going to come your way, and I'm going to begin by inviting onto the bima our immediate past president of our board of directors, upon which your father now sits. We're so glad for his leadership. And she's going to come and say a few words and make a few special presentations.
Hi, I'm Leslie Weiss. I'm the immediate past president of our board of
Did I
directors.
not say your name?
That's okay. It's been a while since you've done one of these live, huh? On the board of directors, we are normally dealing with issues like budgets and how to make things happen and how to live stream during a pandemic. And so one of the greatest tasks we have is when we're asked to come and do the board presentation at a bat mitzvah or a bar mitzvah. So I'm so glad to be here today. I've known your parents since you were little, and I remember sitting on the floor on those Sunday tefillah as well. So it's such an honor to be here with you today. So on behalf of the board of directors, it is my pleasure to present you with this certificate. So you can frame this and hang this and remember this special day. And also this Kiddush cup that has your name and today's date on it. And I hope you always use this in good health. Mazel tov.
We talked earlier about the Torah being our tree of life. Well, I have a couple of tree presentations to make. Number one, we have out in the lobby there a special tree we call our Simcha tree. It's a plaque on the wall, and every leaf on that tree has the name of a member of our congregation and a date of a special occasion in their life, a wedding or a special anniversary or a graduation or a bar or a bat mitzvah. And Hannah, there's a brand new leaf on that tree and it has your name and today's date on it. And we are so happy that it's up there. And your job every time you come through that hallway is to go find your leaf and remember how special this day was in your life, and take your elbow and give it a little shine. Okay? And secondly, you know, we're about to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day. 74 years, I think, since 1948, when Israel declared its independence and became once again the only Jewish country in the world, the homeland of the Jewish people on our ancient homeland. But when Jews first returned about 125 years ago with the dream of settling and building that state, what they found was a land that was barren. All the trees had long been cut down, and it was a desert. And they knew if it was going to be once again a place of life, that they needed to start planting. And with the donations and the help of Jews all around the world, they started to plant. Over 200 million trees were planted in the land of Israel. It's the only country that finished the last century with more trees than it began them with. And Hannah, there is one more tree planted in the modern state of Israel, in honor of your bat mitzvah. Now, I'm not sure if it has your name on it or not, but when we go to Israel together, I want you to look for it. And I wish you luck. We'll be in a restaurant. She'll be looking very pretty. And now we pick up our Siddur, our prayer book once again. And I invite up onto the bima for one last ark opening. For the honor of opening the ark, friends Maya Moreno, Scarlett Ramirez, and Caitlin Johnson. And I ask you all to please rise. At the conclusion of each of our services, we take a reverent moment to remember and to pay tribute to the honor of our loved ones who are no longer living, but whom we carry in our hearts. And especially at these happy occasions, we're thinking about them, and we're seeing in our mind's eye their smiling faces and how proud they would be at a moment like this. So we are remembering especially Uncle Didi and Grandma George and Papi Schcolnik and Mommy Perla Litvin and Abigail Rogers and Ralph Rogers, along with so many other special family members, all of us who we are missing. And if you'd like to say their names aloud, please go ahead. And let us read together now Mourner's Kaddish on page 18. Yitkadav v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalmad yivrach erutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon, v'chayei nechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalah v'yisman kari v'yivru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah nevarach le'olam ulomei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha barichu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amirat v'yama v'yimru amen. Yehei shmama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'ramah Say shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace right here on earth for all of us. And we say, Amen. I'd like to invite now onto the bima the entire Schcolnik Fernandez family. Come join us on the bima as we sing together our concluding song, Say shalom.
On page 19. Lots of clapping.
Yiddishkeit. And we join together in another moment of joy. Baruch